All right, all right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Underground. This is Interactive Chat, Volume 38, our weekly PSVR2 Solo Man podcast where I just kick it with you guys, talk about everything PSVR every single Thursday. What is up, guys? Hope everyone's had a great week out there. We got a lot to talk about today. There may not be new news in terms of like brand new games being announced, although that's only because a ton of other games have already been announced and we've already kind of talked about it. That being said, there still are some new games to talk about, which is pretty exciting. Some that I'm personally very excited about, so can't wait to get into that. What is up? Blue Jew, the Underground Game Cat, Elite Name Squad in the house, Looper, the Underground Game Cat, Scott Jesco, PSVR Game Cat for life, Nihilus Ryan, the Game Feline, my metal brother, what's up? Yo! Hopefully everyone's having a great week out there, man. So far, happy Friday Eve or happy Friday if you're listening on the next day after this show goes live. I appreciate each and every single one of you, whether you watch live, whether you watch later, as long as you just hang out, be yourself, have fun, and be good to each other. Be good peoples. We're gonna teach some other people a good lesson about being good people today. I've of course been still playing the shit out of VR Skater. This is actually some of my footage that I'm showing in the top right. I'm about to land a 35,000 point combo here in a second, starting now. Manual to ollie to manual to ollie to manual to ollie to manual to kickflip to manual to and then just kept it going. 35,000 right there, man. Love VR Skater. You know, some of our concerns were about the depth of this game and stuff, and yeah, you know, it's not the deepest game ever, but several days later I'm still grinding my way through it, literally and figuratively, and having a blast with it. So good stuff, man. Highly recommend. It is awesome. Today we've got a mix of discussion, news, all sorts of things to talk about. I'm going to be letting you guys drive a little bit and answering your questions. Like, I haven't even read this yet, so hopefully I don't regret this. Melkaya, the Soul Reaving Game Cat. Soul Reaver, man. Soul Reaver. Maybe not the greatest fit for VR, but what a damn good PlayStation classic that I absolutely love to my core. Still holds up pretty damn well, too. Says, what's up, AJ? What's up, Soul Reaving Game Cat? It's like Job Simulator if it were... Oh, made me... Okay, awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoyed my off the cuff description of border bots. I almost call it Border Patrol VR, but Border Bots VR. Yeah, silly game. I definitely I have nothing more to say on that game. But I'm glad you found that funny, because I was like, was that too far? Brian after the show was like, no, that was hilarious, and I was like, okay, good, because you know, I like to have fun and sometimes I get a little out of hand. Game Cat Chicago, what's up, man? Mark Smith, Maxi Me, thank you, man. Love you, homie. Much love to yous. Silver Nexus, what's up, dude? So guys, we got a ton to talk about today, obviously, and yeah, man, let's go ahead and kick things off with the news that the official top 25 list is now live over on PSVR Without Parole. Go check it out. Support our efforts to spread some, you know, love and some attention to some of these games that highly deserve it. And yeah, man, really proud of this list overall. It was fun. Shout out to my co-hosts, Miles, Wes, and of course the man himself, Brian. I had a lot of fun doing this with them. Now, some of you might notice something interesting, like right there on the screen where it says number 26. Well, I was a little confused by this myself, because I was like, top 25 list that starts out with top 26. What happened here? Now, you know, I was debating whether or not to bring this up, but you know, we like to be transparent. We're not, you know, we like to be transparent. Sometimes show you guys stuff, what happens behind the scenes and whatnot. And just for those interested, I thought I'd bring it up. Plus, I have an opinion on something. So obviously we did the debate not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and that was like it. That's why we spend those long hours debating and coming up. Brian made a great system this time to make this list. But because some time had passed and we still hadn't gotten the list out yet, he messaged us the other day and he says, guys, let's, I'm ready. I know it's a little late, but let's do this. Still want to do this. I'm glad. I'm very, very glad he did this, because I was starting to wonder. I was like, man, like, are these debates just going to end up being debates now and not like an actual video? Like that's only supposed to be like the behind the scenes of watching this happen. But so he said, hey man, we all really love VR Skater and we really want it on the list. And I was like, yeah, man, like, it sucks that we do all this and then, more games get announced. And you can tell by the tone of the video that he's already like, his tone in the beginning of the video is very much like, I can tell he's kind of frustrated that there's already more games being announced and that they didn't, aren't going to be on the list or whatever. So, but we kind of decided, hey, yeah, we're okay with putting VR Skater on there because it's a badass game and we love it. And we think it would be awesome there. I didn't know where it should be. So he placed it at number 11, which I thought was pretty bold, but I actually am really happy with that. It actually just got right above the Light Brigade at number 11. I think that's a good fit. They're very different games, but I think VR Skater is an excellent game. I think it is one of the better games in the library. So I like that. And I also respected that, it didn't crack the top 10, that we didn't, maybe it will in the future in a debate, but for now, I think it would have been a little iffy to bump something out of the top 10 that was there after the debates. I like this. I think it works fine, and I'm happy with its placement. And I love VR Skater. But then there was something else that I noticed, and I'm like, wait, but that knocked off Creed, but then there's still 26 games. So what's going on? I couldn't even figure this out until he told me. And he put The Room VR Dark Matter at number 15. No, this is where you went too far, Brian. This is where you have gone too far and drunk with power. Listen, I like The Room a lot, but this is where I get very nitpicky about things. I'm like, yeah, sure, you can throw VR Skater into number 11. That's like middle of the list or whatever. That's pretty high up there, but hey, I think it agrees. No, I do not agree with The Room VR. Like, I think it's a great game and all, but it's like 3-4 hours. It's one and done, and then you can never. There's no reason to ever play it again, and so I did not. Like Looper says, I just hate puzzle games. Maybe this is true. People are calling out the fact that I don't like puzzle games typically. I put Red Matter is like a top 5 game for me. That's a puzzle game. So don't come at me with that. Also, Moss is, has plenty of puzzles in it. Mo says Moss is one and done too. I don't know. I've replayed Moss a few times. So, obviously games are subjective and stuff. And this is why I can't say Brian's wrong for doing this, but I'm just voicing my I'm protesting this edition of The Room VR, even though I like the game. I think it is a great game and whatnot. But anyways, top 25 is out now. Can't wait to do the next one. We got a lot of games coming out around the corner, so it'll be fun. Also, The Room VR I think this is what bothered me the most, was The Room VR knocked Runner out of the 15th spot, and I fought so hard to get Runner from to the at least top 15, because I do think it's really one of the best games on PSVR 2. I think that's what bothers me more. I will recommend Runner all day, every single day, running circles around The Room VR all day. So yes, see, the chat agrees with me there. This is where these last second decisions cause problems. Again, nitpicking, but hey, I'm allowed to nitpick. What up, Bad Robo? Barglesoft, Adam, what's good, guys? Good to see all of you. You're Long Shadows, hello. Well, anyways, next list, I don't think we'll have this problem. Maybe not. But anyways, we'll have another list at some point. I'm still very proud of this. And I cannot wait for the next one. So, moving on, make sure you go check it out over at PSVR2 Without Parole. I also, for the record, I still plan on doing some kind of my own list again. Like, you know, there doesn't just have to be one limited to one person. We can all have our own opinions and stuff. Some people have said, hey, maybe you should do your favorites list. I was like, maybe I'll do my favorites or just my own top list as well, which isn't honestly much different. But there are definitely some key things. And I'm going to shorten it down. I'm not going to do 25 games. I want to really jam pack like 15, maybe 20 games, 20 at most. Because I really want to highlight, you know, I don't want to highlight half the library. I want to highlight just the best of the best of the best. Game Cat Chicago says, are you hydrated? Not enough. Let me get a sip of water. I've got a bunch of videos playing here. I meant to hit the mute button and I hit the wrong one. So guys, we've got there was the top 25 that came out. Well, there was also the top 10 most downloaded games from PlayStation Store. These are just the digital PlayStation VR2 only games that are featured here. So let's take a look at the US and EU here. There's some interesting things for sure. Nice to see Hubris still hanging on to the top 10. You know, despite some kind of mixed opinions on this game, I do think it's fantastic. I do love Brian's description in the top 25 list as well, saying like, I agree that I'm surprised there's not more games like Hubris, because Hubris is awesome. And even if they're like, you know, 5-hour adventures or whatever, you'd think that there would be kind of more. Like, I thought that would kind of be like a standard by now. So love Hubris. Good to see that. Switchback made a comeback on the EU side, likely due to the graphical patch. It's a great looking game now. Like, really, literally one of the best looking games, actually. It's crazy that it had such a drastic overhaul. I still think the game should be around $20, and I still think it has flaws, like it's a little boring. And a horror roller coaster shooter should not be boring. That is the biggest flaw that it has. It still has some great moments, though. I especially still love the first 3 levels of the game. I think it's great. Though I think like, and it's also immediately like, it has a good, like, you know, it's really fun for the first hour or two, which is pretty cool. But then you get beyond that and it starts to kind of fizz out. Creed Rise to Glory at number 9, a solid boxing title and a good genre. Walkabout Mini Golf has slipped a little bit to number 8. Still a fantastic game. Actually, the developers of Walkabout Mini Golf said that, you know, thanks to the launch of PSVR2, that their player base is thriving. I know it was already doing pretty well on Quest, but it's also doing really, really well on PSVR2, which is great because it's an excellent game. Swordsman, the best voice acting game, the game with the best voice acting, is still, dude, Swordsman is like, I mean, that is like a dark horse of a game there. I mean, that game just never is not on the top 10 list. It's impressive, man. Like, you don't even see really a bunch of people in the community talk about it, or not anymore. I mean, we did a bunch when it came out years ago, but it's amazing that game is still going around. It just shows you that there is something to like physics-based arena combat. Like, it sells. They know, I've been saying this for a while, that Sin Studio knows what sells. And that's why I'm very excited about their next game. and we should all be very excited about their next game. Next, we got Job Simulator, another game that's like really popular for newcomers. A lot of people, it's had a popular name for a long time. So Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. I'm sticking mostly with the US side here. It's actually, I think the rest is exactly the same. It's crazy. It's identical, actually, from 6 down. We got Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. A lot of this probably has to do with, the game was selling okay as is, but having the $10 discount, I'm sure, is part of the reason of this. And, good for it. It's, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm glad they at least didn't wait forever to give some kind of discount. Again, I think it should be like $30 at most. But it's good for Star Wars fans and stuff, and it's good for kind of newcomers to VR as well. It'll help ease them into it. Next, we've got Moss Book 2, My Quill. Let's go. Another game that was on deep sale, so nice to see Moss jumping back on here. The bundle, I think, was like $26, which is a great deal for both games. Despite beating these games, I do think that there is reason to go back and play them. There's collectibles to find, and there's a good platinum trophy that's fun, and it's an easy platinum trophy. And I absolutely adore this game. And, I played the Room VR, and like years later, jumped back in, and it didn't stump me anymore. Like, it didn't wow me anymore. I can jump back into Moss on PSVR2 and it wows me. The difference is that Moss actually has some pretty nice, like much better enhancements than the Room got. And it's also just, I think, just a much better game. Like hands down, not even close. But yeah, man, Moss Book 2, nice to see jumping back on here. Pavlov is still crushing it. Now I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but yeah, Pavlov, they are actually working on additional content for this game, and I think the success that Pavlov has had is definitely not only well deserved, but I think it's pretty telling that the first person shooter genre is definitely one that people out there want to buy and play. This game is getting a lot of traction on PSVR2. Basically revived it. It's an excellent game, and I think it is a little bit small. It's a smaller title, but I think it's fantastic. Number 2, we've got Beat Saber, of course, still remaining at the top. But here is the thing: is that there is a new number 1, and it is Synapse in both US and Canada and EU. That Synapse has taken the number 1 spot. So got to give props to End Dreams here. I do think this is like very well deserved. Now, I did have my complaints about the game, but I tried to make it very clear that like, hey, this is still a very good game at the end of the day. And I think it shows you that there is, like, I learned something from the release of Synapse. I also think I had a little bit of a unique experience where they gave me a little bit too much access to the game in the demo. And then I, basically exhausted everything there was to do in the demo preview build that I had, so that when I played the real game, I just kind of blasted through it. So the way I kind of put it together was I just kind of combined like my experience. This has never happened before to me. Usually a preview build is very limited. This would be like if a demo gave you access to most of the game. It's like, yeah, of course you'd be disappointed when you played the full game, but I love to see this, man, because I do think that End Dreams is a great studio. They make really fun gameplay. There's lots of really, really great qualities about this game. And I love the buzz around it, man. I can't help but get excited seeing all these other people get excited about this game. And yeah, man, and it's got some cool stuff like, David Hayter's in it, and it's got a great art style. The telekinesis is amazing. So yeah, even though I had like a couple complaints or whatnot, I'm very, very happy to see this taking the #1 spot, especially after they released Fracked 20. God, what year is that? 2021? I think it was 2021 when Fracked came out. And, you know, that game didn't even hit the top 10. So I'm glad that they not only got top 10, but got #1. #1. That is awesome, man. Now, I expect that to change this next month, but I do think that they will still remain on the top 10 and stuff. And seeing like Hubris, some of these other games, it's good to see, man. Thank you, GameCat Chicago. I appreciate it, man. I try to have an open mind, man. I'm very happy, Nihilist Ryan, my metal feline friend. I'm very happy about the success of Synapse as well. I mean, even people that are not in the VR space, like, are hearing about Synapse and are like, I got to check that out. So I love to see it, man. It's, to me, I compared it first to, like, I said, like, this is probably going to have the impact of Super Hot. But at the end of the day, I think, I don't know if I'll say it's much different than Super Hot, but like mechanically, but I think like the buzz around it, the fun factor, things like that. The gameplay is really fun and unique, like in that regard. In a very vague comparison, it works. But good shit, man. Good shit. Congrats to you, to End Dreams. I love those peoples over there. Even when I had a bunch of criticisms, which I think some of it wasn't really fair. Like we don't always get it right either. Like we try our best. I just really think I had a weird experience with this game. And so I have to kind of like pull myself away from that and look at the big picture. And yeah, it's good shit. And I would take more games like Synapse all day, every day. But I want more at the end of the day as well. All right, guys. So that's your top 10 for this for last month. Good stuff. I'm really glad to see. I'm surprised Red Matter 2 is not on here. That's a game we got to keep the buzz going for. Is Red Matter 2, because I think that's easily a top 5 game. That's something that pretty much anybody can play and enjoy. Yeah, we need to start talking about Red Matter 2, giving that some love again, because that needs to get back on the top 10 where it belongs. Absolutely deserves to be. So we talked about VR Skater coming out this month. We've talked about VR Skater a lot, but again, I do love this game, so I'm happy to. That's just the beginning for this month, though. We assume Green Hell VR is coming out the 15th. It's not completely. It seems like it's supposed to be, but there's let me go ahead and roll the trailer here. There's not a lot of word from Incuvo themselves. Maybe Sony. I have seen before where Sony kind of has they've got like the marketing rights for something and then they don't market it. So that could be happening here, but it would be very interesting to see. That is the most frustrating shit, I swear. But no, actually, no, they did. They were the ones. It was the PlayStation YouTube trailer that we saw that said that it was August 15th. So we don't hear a lot leading up to this. Maybe they're waiting till next week to really get the announcements going, but I'm really excited about this. But yeah, man. So we've also got shortly after that, let me tell you, man. So let's go ahead and get into the thick of it here, the main topic of the show, and that is how PSVR2 can shut down the haters and the noise and the lack of noise, because it needs some noise sometimes. Obviously, there was a tweet of all things that went out, but it came from somebody that is in a higher journalistic place. So it got a lot of traction, got a lot of buzz, surprisingly. I'm not going to really go. Here's the thing. I'm not really just going to turn this into a negative, dismissive, like, shit on this person, whatever. I wanted to. I really wanted to, and I could. But I don't want to, because I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit. I'm not going to stoop down to their level. And I'd rather, it's more fascinating to me, or interesting, to have like a good, interesting, constructive discussion around this. Because to me, that's a lot more fun. We don't got to mirror what everyone else is doing out there. We can do things our way, and that's what makes it cool. But yeah, but trust me, I did want to say some shit that was like low blow, like really low blows. But because I know of this person for a long time and followed them and their whole, like most of their career, it's always been at IGN. So, you know, other people have moved on. But again, I'm going to try really hard. I'm restraining really hard. I'm trying not to go there. Don't stoop down to their level. Don't stoop down to their level. But yeah, man. So anyways, they basically said, long story short, that they think that PSVR has no games, is what they said. And it's not what they literally meant. But it's still like, you know, we've been hearing this for so long. You know, people said this about PSVR 1, and they say this about VR in general. I mean, this is like, it's just always something. And so those of us that are really passionate, really enjoy this, we always get a little, I don't want to say discouraged, but it's definitely disappointing, and it's frustrating, because we know that the potential is so much higher than what it's perceived as from many outlets, from many consumers and stuff. And you know, we want it to be like, of course we'd want it to be like this overnight success, this overnight mainstream product, but that's just not really the reality. Like, the reality is that it is a slow growing and slowly improving thing. I mean, this is like, you know, a lot of gaming and stuff. It just reminds me so much of just what I've heard before with past generations, and the way some games were criticized. A lot of the times those things were new, and so like there wasn't this criticism and the cynicism that there is now. And I think, you know, I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Here's the truth. The truth is PSVR does have games. It has AAA games, and it has fucking great games. Now, what it doesn't have is an excess of these huge, really well-known IPs. It has, it's kind of a victim sometimes of bad marketing, of poor marketing, of poor messaging, poor timing, things like this. But as somebody that's followed VR for a long time now, at least PSVR mostly, I've always had the product to keep me going. It's like, you know, all this stuff is just noise, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day when I'm actually getting what I want. And yeah, I mean, of course there are things that I want to see improved. Me more than anybody, or most people, especially more than people like this guy, know how much more it could be, and how much more we want from it. But to not see what is there and what we are getting, and not taking a step back and looking at the evolution of this, and appreciating the process that we're seeing unfold. I think to me that's been really, really fascinating part of, and it really it's been a fun ride for that. And it's like, yeah, like not everything is just showing up overnight, which was what people expect. And you know, to some degree, like I get guilty of it too. I'm human. Like, I have these expectations of wanting, you know, I was thinking, you know, at least I knew that with PSVR 2, there's the possibility that just like every game could just have a switch that you could flip and have a VR mode. And so like every game you enjoy on consoles and everything just all of a sudden is now it has a VR mode. And yeah, that just hasn't been the case. But also there's a silver lining here in that, like I said, being able to witness the things that are making progress, the things that are growing and becoming better and cooler. VR Skater is a small, tiny studio, 3 developers, but it brought me something that it brought me the joy that I haven't experienced in like 20 years, something 15, 20 years, when I first played Tony Hawk or when I played SSX Tricky. I missed out on the Skate series, unfortunately, which obviously was very popular for a while, killed Tony Hawk. But until Tony Hawk had a remake. But it's just little examples like this that, you know, it's just seeing the progress, seeing people start to get it, starting to understand that how do you what makes VR great is taking these, you know, VR has an advantage of having kind of a bunch of examples of what makes great games great, gaming fun, and then adapting it to VR. Oh, and by the way, you know, I see some people talking about like owning all the headsets and stuff. They can't lock, Brandon VR says, can't lock yourself down to only one headset is my mindset. Well, I think you can lock yourself down to whatever you enjoy. And, you know, I have a Quest 2 and I liked it. Like, I enjoyed it when I didn't have anything to play on PSVR 1, but now I've got a PSVR 2. So it's like, you know, but I think you should lock yourself down to whatever. I do think that there is always an advantage of having, you know, everything, but not everyone could do that. Not everyone has the budget. Even if you have the money, it's like you might not have the spending habit to do something like that or the time to invest into that. So, you know, everyone's different. And I obviously that's like the best thing you could do, but you know, I could definitely hook up my PC if I wanted to and whatnot, but I don't want to spend all my time tinkering with everything. I have no interest in that. I just want to pay for product that is finished, turn it on, put it on, and play it and enjoy it. And because that is an option for me. But anyways, so here's the thing, man. Like I said, PSVR 2 has had some amazing games. It's had AAA games. It's had Resident Evil Village and Gran Turismo 7, which are prime examples of what makes it's a prime example of what would make VR and PSVR 2 an overnight success. And all it takes is a couple big hitters like this. Last gen, we had stuff like Skyrim. Like when Skyrim was announced for PSVR, dude, like everybody started going out and buying PSVR 2. So many people I knew. You coupled that, you mixed like that summer of 2017 and that holiday of 2017, it was like Skyrim and a PSVR price drop at $200, and it was just like flying off the shelves everywhere. It was magical. Yeah, unfortunately we don't have some of the same options as we did before, stuff like Bethesda games and whatnot, but there's still plenty of other options. There's still paths to get these huge games and titles that we want. You know, sometimes you just gotta, you know, cut your losses and move on. And that's kind of how I feel with, you know, as much as I would want the next Elder Scrolls or something that comes out in over 5 years from now to be VR. I'm just, you know, it doesn't mean that's not the one be all things of all things. Like there's going to be other options and other opportunities. And that's what I want to talk about today. Well, first of all, we got to give some credit to the indie developers who have been, you know, indie developers minus some, you know, there's these runaway successes, stuff like Synapse, where it actually gets like to a mainstream level of attention and success critically and commercially. Game is selling really well. you've got stuff like this. You got stuff like Beat Saber, which took over the world took the world by storm, despite being that game started out with like 4 developers, something like that. There are the one-offs like this, but there's also a lot of really great indie titles that don't get a lot of praise, don't get a lot of credit. That's why I get really happy about seeing. One of these indie devs, of course, is making a game coming out in the next few weeks, and that is Firewall Ultra, man. First Contact Entertainment is dropping this game, and let me tell you guys, unless this game is just a disaster, which I don't think it's going to be, this game is already selling PSVR2 headsets. I guarantee you this will be number one on the top 10 downloads for this month when we get that list next month. I guarantee it, because I already see people buying PSVR2s. This is what I loved about the first Firewall, was that it was fascinating to me to see a game that had no previous like IP that it was tied to or whatever, that just about everything. I mean, not everything went right for it, but in terms of like the sales and building the community and the quality of the game, like the 3 important pillars of a successful game, it was fascinating to see. And I still argue that you could argue that Firewall Zero Hour is the best PSVR game for PSVR 1. I think it's debatable, obviously, between like a couple titles, but I would be okay with that. But yeah, man. So I'm really excited about this, and despite all the noise, despite sometimes the negativity and stuff, games like this will have a positive impact on the PSVR2 ecosystem. I expect this game to be very, very good, because most of it is the first game. It's like a half sequel, which I'm totally fine with. This is the best case scenario when it comes to getting like remasters for games. Like, I will happily buy this game again full price for upgraded graphics, upgraded features, all sorts of things. And you know, and what makes Firewall great as well is the longevity of it. This game gets major support will get major support after launch. We'll have seasons. This will be a very, very popular game for a long time to come. So other than this, you know, this will be great. I think Crossfire Sierra Squad will do well as well. I don't think it's going to sell as much as Firewall will, but I think they'll be pretty close, and at least like there's kind of an audience for both, right? I know I did a vote last week, was it? And I was like, which one are you getting? And actually more people voted for Crossfire, which is why I love y'all, bunch of introverts and single player gamers. But I think the reality is that Firewall is going to dominate the sales charts. And because, yeah, I mean, it's kind of proven itself before. There could be hiccups at launch, whatever. I just feel like this game is going to be, I think it's going to be awesome. Once again, it's going to be really, really fun. And it's going to be another must-have for years and years to come. Still one of my favorites on PSVR 1. But so other than big hitting indie titles, you know, I've got the Firewall trailer here. There's stuff like Vertigo 2, which is also going to be a big deal, I think. There's stuff like, what is it? Hellsweeper should be really great. We're getting some great indie titles that are going to be of, you know, console quality tier. Maybe not all of them will have the depth or the longevity of, you know, some console games, but I do expect them to at the very least, this is like the least, is to take another step forward. That's the important part. Just keep taking steps, making steps forward, versus, and don't go backwards. Don't go backwards. When I talk about like Horizon Call of the Mountain, that's the problem I have with that game, is like, I think that that game is an example of taking a step backwards. That's not where, you know, it doesn't take us where we need to go. I think games like Vertigo 2, games like Firewall, games like Hellsweeper potentially, is the direction, or steps in the right direction. Bullet Storm, says Awesome Tatum. That's such a weird one. I'm excited about that, but but yeah, man. So I'll Living Legend. I forgot. I actually wrote that down and I forgot to talk about it. So we'll talk about that after this discussion. But yeah, man. So the other thing besides indie games, obviously those are going to satisfy the people that are already invested, unless there's some huge mega indie game that comes around, like I said, like a Firewall or a Vertigo 2 or something. There will be those types of games as well. But the way that Sony can really, really shut down the haters is kind of what Pietrek F says here. Some of it I agree with. Thank you for the donation, my friend. Appreciate the support for the channel. Appreciate you. And he says hybrid AAA games can shut down, but Sony not care. Well, I think Sony does care. Again, so this is where I agree with you, is that the hybrid titles, the big AAA games, the console level quality games converted to VR modes, man, are how Sony can shut this down. People think there are no games because they haven't heard of them before. And then, you know, there's nothing on the flip side from the indie stage. There's nothing yet, keyword, that like is on that scope of like big AAA flat games. The good thing is we have the hardware now that can support it. And it's going to take time, but I think the quickest way for like PSVR2 to just start flying off the shelves, to have overnight success, is absolutely, it's going to come down to two things. Number one is definitely the hybrid title. Picture this, if you will. There's this game that's a remake that's coming out. It's of a series that you may have heard of, called Metal Gear Solid Delta, and it's a Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Now, you can't tell me with a straight face for 1 second that if this game was announced with VR support, which I think is a possibility, you know, I obviously, that whether that happens or not, we don't know. It seems like it would be less likely to happen, but never say never, man. Because I do think that this is something we could possibly see in the future. Who knows? Who are you to say that it couldn't be? If you could, like, you know, I get that the probability could be definitely mixed, but I'm not giving up hope of, this is my dream for like PSVR 2, is to eventually get to the point where games like this, you know, happen in VR. And you can't tell me that people would shut the hell up instantly with all their doubt, with all their hating, if this was announced for VR. The other thing, the other part of it though, there is a caveat to this, is that one thing I've noticed, because I try to be very observant of, you know, the online chatter, which stuff like Twitter and whatnot doesn't always represent, like hardly ever represents the reality of what's selling, of what's, you know, it doesn't always represent it. Sometimes it's accurate. Sometimes it can be, but for the most part, especially when it comes to like hate and stuff like that, it's usually just people that just get off on hating on stuff and think it's cool. And but the reality is that like a lot of times these things are doing better than people think. You know, it's like us bashing on Job Simulator. We're like, it's game so old, blah blah blah. Yet it still remains to sell on the top 10 like every single month for the last couple years. But the reaction to stuff, when you saw stuff like Gran Turismo and Resident Evil Village, man. These are the kinds of games, these VR modes that are applied to big titles are definitely what could make PSVR2 an overnight success, could shut up all the haters, and it's really what we want, man. I mean, look, I love my indie games. I love my new innovative games and everything like that. But at the end of the day, this needs to be the backbone of the system. The backbone should not be the indie games. The indie games should just be like kind of like the dessert, like the extra stuff that you get to enjoy. But really what PSVR2 needs to be like really successful to sell millions and millions, it needs more games like this, more games that, and like I said, this needs to be the backbone of it. The other thing that I've noticed is that, you know, there's always something, right? Whenever you say, well, VR does have AAA games. It's got Resident Evil Village and it's got Gran Turismo 7. Yes, it's not like every single game, but those are two pretty damn good games, like pretty big titles to have there. And then they say, well, it's been out a year. That's the other thing, man. I mean, look, it wouldn't hurt. In fact, it would help a lot as well. To have a day and date release with the VR modes, not wait a year after. Now for me, for myself, who would prefer to play the VR version when I'm aware of a VR version, I will not touch the flat game. Stuff like Village, stuff like Gran Turismo 7, unless it's, yeah, like I will not, because I don't know, man. I did some soul searching recently and I played and I went and I tried to get caught up on some stuff because I've been playing VR for the last 5 years, nothing but it, besides Final Fantasy VII Remake, nothing but VR. So I wanted to be like, I felt like I was missing out. It's that FOMO effect. So I went and I played Ghost of Tsushima. I played God of War. I played Spider-Man. I played Ratchet and Clank and all this stuff. And you know, all these different games, multi-platform, exclusives, whatever, big AAA titles. And it, at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's a really great, like, there's things to love about these games from my perspective, but I just don't, like, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. At some point they do, like, it does start to feel a little samey that these are similar experiences, just telling different stories and have a different coat of paint on them. And for me, that's my reality of this is why I got into VR in the first place. And, you know, a lot of people, I won't say most because I don't know, but a lot of people that play VR, like they only play VR because it's something new and something different. A lot of us, you know, we got tired. The reason we went to VR is because we were giving up on gaming. I get that there's generations out there that are still like, this is new to that. There's generations that are older that still prefer the flat games, that some people just prefer non-VR games. That's fine. But there's a lot of people, especially in the VR space, that like, this is where we want to play. This is how we enjoy our games the most. And so for me personally, this is how I want to experience these games. I don't want to play them in the non-VR version. And I think that, again, the hybrid approach is the best way to do this. I will wait a year if I have to play these games. And I waited a year to play Resident Evil Village, and my God, it was one of the greatest VR experiences I've ever had in my life. And it's one of the best games I feel like it's one of the best games I've ever played. Now, flat screen, I could imagine playing that and being like, you know, it's all right. Like, especially like, you know, I don't know. Resident Evil 4 is another good example. Speaking of which, Living Legend says, thank you, by the way, for the donation. Appreciate the support as always, my friend. Says RE4 VR2. Good thing I haven't played the pancake version so I can get the full experience. Yes, man, that game is going to knock your socks off. So I played Resident Evil 4 back in the day. Do I still have the Resi 4 trailer here handy? Oh, don't tell me I removed it. Dang. Yeah, man, I was not the biggest fan of Resident Evil 4 originally. I liked it, but it wasn't like one of my more favorite ones. Honestly, my favorite was Resident Evil 7 it was Resident Evil. I don't know. I'm a weird one when it comes to the Resident Evil series, but Resident Evil 7 was really the first one that like I truly, truly loved, because growing up, I was kind of always a little bit more into Silent Hill. But then when we were waiting for PSVR 2, I played all of Resident Evil 4 in VR. And man, that was so good. That is still hands down, in my opinion, the best game on the Quest 2. Absolutely. Not to discredit a bunch of other great indie games and other games on there, but I think there's just something about taking these games and adding the VR mode where it's fully playable in VR. You add the VR mechanics where you get to interact with stuff. You don't even have to do that much. Like, you don't have to make everything physics driven and whatnot. If you just make the core gameplay elements VR, it makes a huge difference. It makes it super fun. So, but he says RE4 VR2, yeah, that remake is going to be nuts. I'm fairly confident that's going to blow even Village out of the water. And Village was fantastic. It was like pretty much perfect and one of the best VR games I've ever played. But yeah, I fully expect after beating RE4 on the Quest 2, I fully expect that the remake is probably going to end up being the best game on PSVR 2. I wouldn't be surprised. It just works, man. But yeah, like I said, man, getting stuff like Metal Gear Solid, you know, this is what I want. This is what I hope to see. And it would be nice. It's not a necessity, but it would be nice as well if it happened day and date. That way, I just think in terms of like the impact it would have for selling VR, in terms of that, more people would go out and buy a VR instantly. It doesn't have to be that way though. Some people can just love an IP and they go, oh, I get to play this a new way. You know, like Skyrim's a great example. Everybody had played Skyrim at this point. And then, or at least not everybody, but most people, a lot of people had played Skyrim, but it didn't matter. When it got a VR version, it was just like, boom. It got people to go out and buy a VR headset. And these games, these would be nice. You know, some of the marketing needs to be tightened up on Sony's end. Believe it or not, like I've said before, it has actually improved, which I know is a scary thought. But I do think there's little things here and there. Some of the timing, the placement, where they choose to show stuff. They really utilize this PlayStation blog a little bit too much, and then they show stuff on the big stage that they just don't frame it right, man. They've got the right idea. They just are terrible at executing it. It just needs to be cleaned up a bit. And I think that would also help a lot. Some of the messaging. And again, some people have also pointed out that this is not just a VR thing. Like, this is like a lot of just Sony in general, with their messaging, their marketing has a lot of work to do. And I agree, man. For years now, I've talked about, you know, the Jim Ryan takeover and stuff. And I mean, I don't want to say it's I don't want to say it's anything like PS3 because that was god awful. But it does feel like the next thing above the PS3 in terms of like the marketing and the kind of messaging and just being close to the community. Last gen, I think everyone should really hopefully can appreciate how special the leadership and stuff was last gen, being so in tune with the fans. The difference is some of the sales and stuff started to kind of fizzle out a little bit. Some of the stuff didn't. Some of really, really expensive projects, stuff like Dreams over here, you know, didn't pan out. And so they said, well, we need to get more conservative. And so I get what they're doing now. They're going very much a business approach. Hopefully it doesn't backfire on them, because I think right now they're still riding the success of last gen. But if they can only ride that for so long, they can ride it for a long time. PS5s are selling like crazy. They can certainly ride it for a very long time, but they can't ride it forever. So they're going to have to start making moves in the right direction. And and at some point. But all I think at the end of the day, man, all I think is it just takes a couple big games to really shut people up. That's all that they want. All these people complaining, they're not complaining that VR has no games. They're complaining that VR doesn't have these big AAA games that they're familiar with and stuff that they know flat, that, you know, they're complaining. But at the end of the day, like, how are they supposed to invest into that when it's still a growing market? It would be a bad decision. It would be it would be like financial suicide if they just spent every single dollar they had on making every single game do it. But they can do it in chunks. They can spread it out. They can do it wisely and invest wisely. Investing in stuff like Call of the Mountain, that was not a wise decision in my opinion. Investing in stuff like Resident Evil's VR mode and Gran Turismo 7's VR mode, those are good decisions. We need more good decisions like that. And yeah, stuff like I keep saying stuff like Metal Gear Solid, to be able to play as Solid Snake with really the original stuff, and then, dude, getting to use Solid Snake's technology, getting in that world. Oh my God. Now, I know that game is third person, but we've seen it work before. Stuff like Hitman. Like, Hitman was a game I would have never imagined would have worked in first person. But you know, that's the way that Metal Gear Solid works, is like, it is a slower paced, you know, stealthy action shooter thing. There's lots of cool tech to use and stuff. You can absolutely throw a first person mode into that and make it work. It doesn't work for every game, right? It doesn't work for stuff like you can't just take Spider-Man and you can't just put it in first person, because it'd be janky as fuck. Now, a Spider-Man spin-off title would actually work pretty well, because it would be more about the experience of it. But yeah, not every game can just do that. But I do think Metal Gear Solid would absolutely be one of those that could work, even if you have to sit through 10 hours of cutscenes. At least it's got a nice cinema mode now. Another game I think that would work really well, and there's tons and tons. Like, I think even I haven't played Dead Island 2, but I feel like that could potentially work. But another game I think, and by the way, this is not my trailer, or this is not an actual trailer for this. This is by a channel called GTA Mania. So shout out to them who made this trailer. I'll leave a link in the description. This is just a fan-made trailer, but I'm just using this to have some kind of visual while I talk about this. But the upcoming Grand Theft Auto game, man. You want to talk about selling headsets? You want to talk about selling headsets, getting immersed in a world and having fun? We've already seen people make VR modes, like unofficial ones, that are pretty awesome. Add first person and everything. You could absolutely do something like this. And like I said, Skyrim, next Elder Scrolls, all that kind of stuff, that might be off the table, but you still got options, man. And when I say you got options, I mean, like, you've got Metal Gear Solid, and you've got freaking Grand Theft Auto. Dude, this Cyberpunk 2077, you know, you have options to do this. Forget making your Horizon Call of the Mountain spin-offs and stuff like that. Scrap that. Throw that in the garbage can, those ideas. And just invest with this studio that you're partnered with, that you have a partnership with, and give them some funding, some resources. Get White Moon Dreams, who are like experts at converting games, at helping with things. Get professionals, a professional team to help with creating VR modes for this, man. This is how you sell people. This is how you shut down the haters, man. It doesn't have to be every game. It just has to be the right ones, man. The Resident Evils, the Gran Turismos, the Grand Theft Autos, the Metal Gear Solids. And look, to me, it just, you use so much less resources and stuff dedicating to one project. Well, you get to still work on the flat screen game here. You still get to support that, and you just work on the VR mode, optimizing it for VR, making things interactive, making things first person, be able to get into them and stuff and get out of them and whatnot. And dude, this is where, honestly, this is where I believe we're headed, guys. Like, I think, it may take time or whatever. These games still have a lot of time before they come out. And, even after that, it could be another year or more that the VR mode gets added to them. But I firmly believe that it is going to happen sooner or later. It is going to happen. And these are the kind of things that have propelled VR in the first place. Like I said, stuff like Resident Evil 7, Skyrim. These are what gets people's attention. And then once they buy the headset, they invest into it, 50%, I would say, they start to realize, oh my God, like VR is amazing. And they start investing in everything. The attach rate is really, really high. The completion rate is pretty high for games. And then like the other 50% or something just falls off. And they're like, well, I'm just going to wait for the next one of these big titles. And again, these are essential for the backbone of PlayStation VR 2. And luckily, unlike last gen, we have the hardware this time to support this. So it's awesome, man. And I firmly believe we are going to get this in one day. I promise you, we are going to get this one day. It's going to happen. It's just time, man. It's just time. I know it's a long journey, but hey, at the end of the day, like I said, the reality is, like, yeah, it's a long, slow, grueling process at times. But for me, the kind of what's helped me, because I do this because I love it, right? I do this. I've long gone beyond like trying to make a living off this and stuff. I do this because I love it and I believe in it. And this is my, like, how I love to play games. I've tried going back to non-VR gaming, and I appreciate lots of it. I like a lot of it, but it just doesn't do it for me. I would end up getting bored and just, moving on to something else. But I love video games. Video games are my favorite medium for pretty much since I was a baby. My mom always said I was born with a controller in my hands. True story. But yeah, man. So this is it, guys. You get this. It's only a couple moves, and yeah, man. I mean, it's got to happen at some point, and this is all it takes. It doesn't have to be every single game. It's just got to be the right ones, man. And it can happen. It can happen, and it will happen. But look, in the meantime, you got to appreciate what we're getting. Stuff like Wanderer. You see, people out there, they don't even know what this is. They haven't heard of it before. They're so gullible that just because they haven't heard of it, they don't know if it's a big game or stuff. I guarantee you, once Wanderer drops and gets some nice spotlight on it, people see some gameplay of it, I guarantee you this could potentially become one of those like system sellers as well. This is going to be a reason to buy a PSVR 2 like Firewall in the future. This will be one of those must-play titles, or another reason to have a PSVR 2 headset. By Grabthar's hammer, you will be avenged. PSVR 2. Oh man. All right. But yeah, man, I'm so excited, man. Firewall coming up. I guess Green Hell VR. I'm really excited about Firewall mostly. I'll be enjoying VR Skater in the meantime. I'm really, really loving that game. I can't wait to check out Crossfire for my introverted single player players, or just playing with a friend. That's the cool thing about these games. Some of these games too is like, I think a lot of people will pick up both, unless they just get reviewed terribly. I think a lot of people will end up getting both Firewall and Crossfire, and I think they'll make a good combo because it's like not only you have you have a game that you can play with your friends and stuff, so it's really, really good stuff, man. But yeah, whew. And then we got stuff like Resident Evil 4 coming, Wander. I've already said Hell Sweepers coming in September. I can't wait to start talking about September and what we're potentially going to see there. Arashi, Castles of Sin, Final Cut. Your Long Shadows says, I'm solo only. I suck at these games. And I'm mostly a solo gamer too. It'll be interesting to see if Firewall changes that though, because Firewall certainly changed that for me when it came to last gen. I had I've said this before, but I had 4 people on my friends list. And then Firewall came out and I had hundreds. No joke. The thing that made Firewall really special was it was not like your typical first person shooter community, where it's just riddled with a bunch of kids and just trash people. It was a phenomenon. And I hope to see that happen again. And I think it will. But dude, Firewall was a phenomenon because not only did you have this great first person shooter or whatever, with great support, great content, great, everything basically. But the community that drove it was awesome as well. Amazing stuff. I was just meeting people from Germany and playing with people just all over the world and Brazil, and man, just so many really nice people that just enjoy playing the game. And it wasn't your typical community. It was very close knit for being an online shooter thing. It was crazy. Silver Nexus, thank you so much for the donation, my friend. It says Master AJ of the Game Cat Dojo. Thank you for making Thursdays sucks. Just a little bit less. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for making Thursdays suck less. And happy Friday Eve, and happy Friday to everyone who's listening down. But we're not done yet, guys. We got one more story to get through. I hope that was a nice, constructive conversation regarding that. I really wanted to turn a negative thing into a positive. Don't give in to the noise. Don't give in to the negativity. And, like I said, any response to that comment was a moot point because that wasn't the intention of what, they weren't being literal with that. That wasn't their intention, was to, make a literal fact. That wasn't a factual statement. That was a jab. And yeah, man, it's, it will change. It will change. I heard this for the past 5 years. And it didn't stop games from releasing. It didn't stop anything. So don't let it get you down, man. Thanks, Silver Nexus. Appreciate you, dude. What up, Dan Kiefer? Twitcher, the single player game cap. Before we get into the final story, let's open it up to you guys a little bit, let you drive. Says, just got back into Swordsman again, discovered the joy of going in armed only with 2 shields. Hilarious and satisfying, pounding those goons' faces, and that's awesome, man. Yeah, again, Swordsman is a great physics-based combat game, and I think that has a lot to do with it. It's a good arena fighter. And yeah, I can't wait to see what they do because, everything is hinting towards them kind of learning what they've taken from Swordsman and doing something else. And that's the hope. That's the dream. That would be really, really cool. Take your sweet time, Sin Studio. That's all I got to say. Cause I want to see them deliver on what Undead Citadel hasn't delivered yet, or, some of these other games that they're a good concept, but they're not fully fleshed out. I want to see the real deal, full game. So for the final story, real quick, Mark Smith says, yes, get demo headsets and orbs in the stores. Just look at the orbs, are cool. It feels so good. Yeah, that is true. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of, obviously a lot of things have changed. It's 2020 culturally, and the way people shop and stuff and interact in society, go out. It's pretty much back to normal, it seems. But obviously for the last couple of years that changed. But yeah, man, I mean, if it's any, if it means anything for what it's worth, I get, whenever I check out my local arcade every couple of months, there are VR headsets there now, and people are using them. I was really, really excited to see last time I went. I took Julia there. We go there every now and then, and we played the shit out of every VR game available. But I was actually seeing kids playing the Vader Immortal thing, which was really cool to see. There was kids loving the Vader Immortal. I got to play some other stuff. They of course had Beat Saber, which I tore apart on there. And then they had some other stuff that was it was really nice to see, like front and center. Those were getting more mileage than a lot of other things. So VR is definitely, I would say, even though it may not, it hasn't replaced every single console. I don't think that's the intention. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to just be an alternative at this point. It really just should be an alternative. For those that don't play VR only, it should be a great alternative to throw on and have some fun with. And then it needs enough value, enough bang for the buck to be able to hang on to it. And then, yeah, obviously for the VR enthusiast, for people that are really committed to VR and enjoy it and only play that, there's definitely a lot more for us. But I do think it's reached that mainstream level. People are always saying, like, when's VR going to go mainstream? Well, I think it's already mainstream. I just don't think it's like this juggernaut yet, obviously. But I do think we've already achieved like mainstream status with VR, especially compared to like 10 years ago. Absolutely. Definitely. But there's a lot more to go. And guys, we are here, we are the pioneers. We're in the wild west of VR right now. We get to enjoy the ride. We get to see the evolution of it. And, it's going to be amazing 10, 20 something years from now. 10, 20 something years from now, when we're like, remember when people said VR was dead? Remember when we were just holding on to little 5-hour experiences or 3-hour experiences, and that was all we had? And oh man, those will be the days. Super Elastic Bubble Plastic Game Cat, thank you so much, man. It says, I would tip you, hold on. It says, I would tip you more if I can get your schedule. I am always late to your cast, and the snacks are always gone. Ah, dang, man, I'm sorry. It is typically 6:30 p.m. every single Thursday, and that's Eastern time. It's going to range between 6:30 and 7:30. I'm still dealing with some projects and stuff. So, but what I can do is by September, by the end of this month, things should start calming down for good. They're a little calmer right now, but it's going to ramp up one more time and then should be done. By September, I'm expecting to have a normal content-filled schedule again, and I can actually post a schedule by then. I will do my best to make that happen for you, my friend. I appreciate your support and your patience. I'm doing what I can for now. And I'm having a good time, man. We got, so many games coming. All right, so for our last story here, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Polyarc, the makers of Moss, one of my favorite games of all time, the original, the OG PSVR mascot, man. They have announced that their new game is called Glassbreakers Champions of Moss. Now, I know that some people are not going to be super interested in this. I, however, am very interested in this. We are getting an official showcase with the reveal August 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I got to say, man, from the looks of it so far, So I love the world of Moss. I love fighting games. I love the idea of this. It has, it seems like it's going to be a real-time fighting game. So I'm very, very interested to see this. I love this artwork though. This looks fantastic. Looks like we got about 10 characters we'll be starting with. But yeah, man, this I'm very, very excited. Like I said, I understand not everybody will be super into this. I still want like a Moss 3 and everything. I need some kind of conclusion. I don't know who's beaten Moss Book 2, but it sure left me on a cliffhanger. I don't know about anyone else. I don't hear anybody talking about it. But it's cool to see a little side project that I'm actually pretty interested in. If it has good gameplay, I could get a little bit of time out of it and a little bit of enjoyment out of it. But man, August 28th, Glassbreakers, Champion of Moss. Man, that really makes my thing freeze here. I'm trying to, there we go. Let's bring that here. We don't really have much on it yet. We just have this screenshot as well as like, one other one. But I think the artwork looks sick. I'm very interested in this. I hope it's just got some really cool gameplay. I hope it's not like something like turn-based, Champions of Loot Box. But yeah, don't know the kind of like if it's going to be some kind of like loot box game. I doubt it, man. All I know is that, Polyarc has made what, Moss and Moss Book 2. Those are two of the finest quality games. Yes, this is a spin-off, but this isn't a spin-off. I don't think this seems to me like maybe they don't invest everything right away into this, but I don't think they should. I think they should invest everything into the next Moss game. But they've been talking about, Polyarc's been talking about working on multiple projects for a while now. So this could have been in development for a couple years now, because I'm not good friends with them over there, but they're very, very nice people. They're very communicative, and they're very awesome. Shout out to the people over at Polyarc. I love those people. And they've given us hints here and there about working on side projects. I wonder if this is actually one of the projects they've been working on, or if that's something else, and this is just an even smaller spin-off thing. Nas Ryan knows what's up. He says, I hope this Moss game channels that Super Smash Brothers vibe. Hell yeah, man. Dude, like a Super Smash Brothers. That's what I'm saying. Like, I, of course, like some of my favorite games are always the first person, really built from the ground up, interactive mechanics. But I think that there's room for stuff in third person as well. They can be also very immersive, very fun. Dude, if this, I didn't even think about that, but if this ends up being something like a Super Smash in the Moss universe, like, holy shit, dude, that would be much bigger than I would have anticipated. So that would be amazing. People talking about Mortal Kombat. Imagine Quill like ripping out another mouse's heart and like just holding it up. She's all like cute and fuzzy and innocent, and she's just like ripping someone's heart out. Oh my God, that would be glorious. Make it happen, Polyarc. Make it happen. Samson 143. I want to talk to Samson. Thank you for the donation, my friend. Again, thank you guys for all your generosity and your support. It says Moss Walkabout DLC course, please. That would be amazing. Yeah, Walkabout's killing it, man. I'm really happy to see the success that Walkabout has had. Because it makes me hopeful that one day we get like a remastered version, imagine if they do like a huge massive update for Walkabout Mini Golf, and they're like a legit PSVR2 graphical fidelity version. Dude, that would be insane. And it is definitely possible. Like I said, man, we're 6 months in, and like we're only getting started, and wow, like the potential for what we're going to see this gen is going to be insane. I can't wait, man. And y'all were here first with me as your witness. I see all of you, and that you were here on this day before everything blew up into amazingness. I am your witness. Guys, happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. I hope I made your Thursday suck just a little bit less. Guys, keep on gaming, keep on having fun, keep spreading the love around. You guys are amazing, man. Really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to be taking a trip this weekend, so there might not be a Saturday stream. I got to go visit, got to pay a visit to the Madre. The last time I saw her, she had a bit of a health scare, and so I want to go see her on better terms now. So, but I might be bouncing around a little bit next week. I'll try and keep you posted in our Discord. I'll let you know what's going on. Yeah, and you can guarantee I'm bringing the rig with me. So, so I don't know. I know some of you were there for it, but if anyone was there and remembers, I think it was 2 years ago. Last time I went up there to visit and stuff. I did games cast from over there and stuff. It was a lot of fun, man, and yeah, it was a great time. That was when I was up there when Doom 3 came out. Doom 3 VR came out. Dan Kiefer, she's doing well, man. Thank you, I appreciate it. She's awesome, dude. She's really, really cool, and I love her, and I can't wait to see her. She loves metal. She's the only person in my life that ever supported me playing video games or just being myself and you know, finding my own way, and I'll always appreciate her for that. You stuck in Doom 3 still. Yeah, Steve I already remembers. My brother Elias did the call outs. Shout out to Elias. He moved down to Atlanta. He's old and he's bigger now. He moved down to Atlanta, and yeah, so I'll have to have him come hang out one time. But guys, you have a wonderful night. It's been a pleasure chatting with you as always. Can't wait to follow up with you again very soon and have some fun. Talk some PSVR2 goodness. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'll see you again very soon. Cue the metal. Guys, thank you so much. Let's go, baby. Thank you, Melchiah the Soul, Reaving Game Cat, Raziel. Yes. Super Elastic Bubble Plastic Game Cat. Awesome Tatum. Thank you, man. Smoke them all up. Thank you, Silver Nexus. Thank you, my homie 4D, the four-dimensional cat. Hector, Romo. See you later, my friend JL. Nihilus Ryan, my metal feline friend. Dude, I got some more music for you I need to trade. Troy, VR, what's up, dude? Salvador, Twitcher, the Deuce. He's got the Deuce juice in the trunk of his car. Bad Robo says, I don't know why, but it sucks more now. Thank you, Bad Robo. Scott Desco, Bargosoft, Markio. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you again very soon. Later, y'all.